I'm Teague.
And I'm Sam,
And we are your well-informed girlfriends.
bringing you today's news, gossip, and unsolicited hot takes. This week, we're talking about how TikTok ownership has officially changed and why America feels like it's on a financial resolution rebound.
Okay, we're also talking about the friend group fallacy, a new dating term called a humiliationship.
Oh, that sounds embarrassing.
Can you believe?
I
We have a new
can.
one. And we'll finally be talking about the trend of talking to your water.
Like a glass of
Like
water?
you're literally talking to your water. It might change your life. Anyways, all that and so much more on this week's episode of Well-Informed Girlfriends.
First, we wanted to say that we know that there's a lot going on in the country right now,
Yeah.
and some of us might be feeling anxious, and, it's a difficult time.
Yeah. I mean, I know myself, like last night I was going to bed, like I feel so helpless. Like I'm like
Yeah.
talking to ChatGPT to try to calm me down. It just like simply wasn't working. So we thought it might be nice at the top of this episode just to like really quickly not preach at you, but just maybe like remind you of some things you can do if you're feeling overwhelmed in a time like this, which I think a lot of us are. First of all, it's a good reminder to limit your information overload. So really try to limit that time you're spending on social media. I know me the last few days, I have been scrolling on TikTok nonstop. I've seen every single video. I've seen every single angle of every single thing that's been happening in the country. And it's just really overwhelming.
Oh, yeah. When I close my eyes, I see it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's terrible. So some advice we saw was setting a worry time for like 15 to 30 minutes to catch up on the news and then not allow yourself to do anything else beyond that, and make sure you're using trusted sources from factual reporting, and to avoid obviously doom scrolling and unplugging from your phone whenever possible.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this later in the episode, but there is this new thing where people are putting together full on fake news into AI, and these AI bots are like creating all of this disinformation. So we'll talk about that later, but that is something to be mindful of in this day and age on the internet. Also, the concept of just remembering to focus controlling what you can control. Like focus on the things you can control, right? Like you can control how much input you're getting. You can control what you're doing in the day, trying to get outside, trying to like give yourself perspective, reach out to friends, try to maintain that social circle and community, I think is like really big during this time.
For sure. And like engaging in physical activity too.
Yeah.
And like you have some science-backed actions that you can take to help regulate that nervous system, right?
I do. I love a little science-backed tip. So there are a few. First talks about your breathing. So like try to slow your exhale. That's one thing people recommend when you're like really overwhelmed with things. Breathing in through your nose and then really slowly breathing out through your mouth makes a really big difference to just trying to like reset your breathing and your heart rate. Another thing is to journal. I know it sounds like lame and obvious and boring, but like I do think it really makes a big difference. Like writing down what you're feeling and just like getting it all out on paper feels like it is somewhat relieving.
Yeah.
Another thing we've talked about last week on the episode, moving your body gently. So whether that means dancing or walking around or just getting fresh air generally, like really trying to get rid of that adrenaline in your system when you're feeling overstimulated makes a big difference.
For sure.
Yeah.
We also found that you can ground yourself through temperature by splashing some cold water on your face or holding something warm.
It sounds so dramatic.
It does, but I have to say I get panic attacks sometimes, and like I'll put like a ice pack on my eyes or like on my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just helps you kind of calm down and like makes you feel a little better.
Okay.
We already talked about putting your phone down, but yeah, just like naming 5 things you can see or 4 you can feel, 3 you can hear, that kind of thing. It just distracts your mind from what's happening.
Yeah, that's like a mindfulness technique that people have talked about for a really long time. Like if you're feeling incredibly overwhelmed, just like touch your body. These are my shoulders. These are my knees. This is what's happening. I'm here in this room. Like just naming things that are actually happening in your grounded reality helps you bring yourself down a little bit.
Yeah.
So that is one thing, a few things that you can do in this time. But obviously we are just trying to keep up with everything as much as everybody else is. We're going to leave the real hard news to the real people that are doing the work in the streets. And we'll cover as much as we think is necessary here, but we're also here for you, and we can be that part of your community too, to keep you informed, but not overwhelmed. I think that's a big thing.
For sure.
So one of the stories we want to talk about is something that kind of happened, and I don't feel like people talked about it enough this week. TikTok finally changed hands. So over the weekend, a major shift in the tech world quietly became official. TikTok's US operations are no longer primarily controlled by its Chinese parent company, ByteDance. Now, this change is the culmination of years years of political pressure in Washington and legislative action aimed at tech platforms tied to foreign adversaries. So it could totally reshape how TikTok operates for American users. So the ownership has changed. Do you want to break down who owns it now?
Yeah. So three main firms each hold about 15% and lead the venture. So Oracle is the tech and data security partner. That will be where your information is stored. And then Silver Lake is a private equity investor, and MGX is an Abu Dhabi based investment firm. And then there are some other investors, but those are the three main ones. And then the minority stake, about 20%, is still held by ByteDance. And that is how you will still get the algorithms and stuff from
Yeah.
them.
Although
That's much protected, but it is expected to change.
yeah, exactly. The algorithm, which people find so precious. Like I find the TikTok algorithm so magical. You look something up and you got so many other stories or posts that you're like, oh, that's so engaging. I do feel like things have changed a little bit as far as the algorithm. A lot of people online are talking about how they're seeing old videos resurface that they've already seen. So
Mhm.
maybe there's going to be some sort of like adjustment period with this new ownership. But you actually looked up the algorithm thing, right?
I did, yeah. So like the core experience of using TikTok will largely remain the same. You're still scrolling, you're still creating or whatever.
Yeah.
But like tweaks about how the content is recommended or moderated could happen over time. And
Hmm.
also the For You feed, which is the aforementioned like big deal algorithm,
Yeah.
is going to be retrained on the data that lives under Oracle, the US data.
Okay.
So that is probably why you're seeing that shift. But given the fact that all of us spend all of our time on TikTok, it shouldn't be too hard to like retrain it based on the new data that it's using.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. But it's also important to know, it's
Yeah.
like who has your data. But also, this whole TikTok thing has always been just like such a mind-boggling thing. So it's like they have ByteDance still has our data as far as I can tell. It's like so we had to move our, now ownership changed, but who has our data? There's not a lot of answers on that. So I guess we'll just have to continue watching. But I guess their whole thing was like if America is controlling the data, we are allegedly safer and more protected. Allegedly. Who knows? Okay, so next story I thought was pretty interesting. There's a new warning from Wired and experts that's highlighting how AI-driven disinformation swarms, that's what they're calling them, could become a huge problem for democracy. With these autonomous systems generating coordinated fake content, overwhelmingly real voices, and potentially influencing several things in the world, but especially elections in the future. So these aren't just we've heard of like fake accounts or like bot accounts over the
Right,
years, right?
right.
Like
Of
that's not
course.
new to us. The new thing here is that there are now these large networks of AI agents that are working together, acting autonomously, interacting like real people, adapting their messaging in real time, mimicking human tone, slang, and behavior, all working together to coordinate and influence online communities and conversation. So I thought this was really interesting because it's no longer just like a few people in a different country liking something or sharing something or maybe making something up. It's like these big operations of like fake information. So it's really scary. Generally, AI swarms can generate unique text, tailor content for specific communities or audiences. They can learn and they can just like engage really quickly. And it's really hard to moderate. But I thought what was interesting is they were talking about how the only solution to these AI swarms of disinformation is AI itself. So it's
What?
like taking other AI and like trying to find these patterns in this disinformation and kind of rooting it out that way. It's like, okay, we're just like fighting AI with AI. But anyways, that is like kind of an evolving thing that we're going to have to deal with. And that's why I always talk about like, with my parents too. Like I remember when fake stuff started coming out on Facebook, I was like, please check your source.
Yeah.
Who's your source? And now it's going to become even more difficult to detect what that actually is, especially if these AI swarms become even more mainstream.
Yeah.
So definitely something to just like keep in the back of your mind. Like, okay, I have to really check who did this reporting and whatever it is. Early forms of AI influence operations have already been observed. I think that's important to note in international elections that we saw in Taiwan, India, Indonesia. So this is not new, but it is now becoming a little bit more of a problem. So good thing to know about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Always check your sources, you guys.
Check your sources. And we do our best here on the podcast to always give you our sources and tell you where we get our information.
Right.
But I think it's important to, if you're reading an article online, to be like, who wrote this?
Or watching a TikTok.
Right. Seriously.
And it's crazy. They have gotten so good
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like my own brother literally has lived with a journalist his whole life, right? Like
Yeah.
he will fall for stuff and be like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, "That's fake news." And
Yeah.
I have like such a nose for
Me too.
that I can sniff it out without even needing to Google. But all it
Mhm.
takes is Googling like for 3 seconds and
Yeah.
you can find that this is fake.
Yeah.
But for some reason he falls trapped to it sometimes and he's like a smart guy, you know?
No, no, I'm telling you, my parents too. I mean, parents, are a little bit more removed from the digital age, but
Yeah.
like they are always like, "Did you see this thing?" I'm like, "Guys, that's not real." Or they'll I love it, and this is actually sweet and innocent, but my parents will show me this video. They're like, "Look at this duck hanging out with the dog." I'm like, "That's AI. That is AI." Like, what?
It's like, you guys, I would love if that were real, but
Yeah.
alas, is not.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Okay, what's
God
this
bless.
next thing?
Okay. So the financial resolution rebound is officially here.
Okay, what does that
I know,
mean?
right? According to the Every Girl, Americans are feeling confident about their money goals again
Oh.
in 2026. And that is, according to this, a steadier economy and easing inflation and better access to financial tools. And I
Oh.
think that's like actually so clutch because think about how much more information we have these days than we did when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So people are doing several things to make their money goals happen during this resolution rebound.
Yeah.
Instead of just relying on willpower, they're doing things like automating savings,
Mhm.
stacking their money habits,
Mhm.
and using apps that actually reward their progress. So
Okay.
that's cool. And like there's also been this move, a shift sort of sentiment wise towards softer and more flexible budgeting,
Yeah.
which is sort of like not exactly girl math, but it's like don't deprive yourself, but don't go too crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the vibe. And I think that's why people are liking it a lot more.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So they're saying basically like this financial it's like a rebound? Because 'Cause I'm
Yeah, so
not sure
like
I'm
all
seeing
of
that
us, I mean,
everywhere.
yeah, personally, we live in LA, one of the most expensive cities in the country. So
Yeah.
I am not feeling great.
Yeah.
But your girl's still paying off a wedding. So I
True.
think like other people who are still employed, and again, we work in media in Hollywood, so not all of our friends are employed at this moment.
Right.
But I think a lot of people are seeing some sort of traction in terms of how much they're able to save.
Yeah.
People with
Okay.
jobs, to be clear, not
Yeah.
people without them.
Yeah, and we do know unemployment is pretty high right now.
Yes, exactly. But I
Um,
guess like Gen Z and millennials specifically, people who are employed and who haven't undergone crazy life changes are starting to feel better about
okay.
where they're at. And historically, actually, Gen Z and millennials, I don't remember exactly the source, but I'm pretty sure it was The Economist. As generations, we are saving much more than previous generations did.
Oh.
And it's because we all like most of us have 401ks, but also because we had parents on the internet tell us to start saving in our 401ks like the minute you started working. And so
Yeah.
whenever that was possible, I think a lot of us started taking action on that end. I didn't know
Yeah.
what a 401k was, but
Yeah.
a dad in the newsroom yelled at me. Shout out to Mike Danilla for yelling at me to put money in there.
Yeah, yeah. That is interesting. I do feel like saving has become hot.
Yeah.
I do think it's hot to save,
Yeah,
you know?
especially for women. I think
Yeah. Oh,
we are
especially
always,
for
I think,
women.
as a gender, worried about being self-sufficient and independent, don't need no man kind of energy. And like I would
Yeah.
never want to not have that ability. You know what I mean?
No, oh my gosh, it would be so scary.
It
It'd be
would
so
be,
scary. But
for
I
sure.
I do know people do that, and that is sometimes the, family arrangement, but I'm like, that gives me so much anxiety to be like, I don't have any way to do this. I'm not
Right.
saving, but I'm depending on someone else to save. I don't think so.
Yeah. No.
Okay, this next story is interesting. You have to explain it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, as anyone who is living through the day to day in the US right now, as we mentioned earlier, it's been tough. And in the time honored tradition of film and TV, we are turning to the medium as a form of escapism.
Mhm.
The current trend is being called competency porn.
Okay.
And basically, it's that as we try and make sense of the news around us, there's something comforting about spending time 90 minutes or so with smart, well intentioned people who try to solve problems and get through the day, like
Yeah.
successfully.
Okay.
Examples of this would be any procedural ever, like Law and Order SVU,
Mhm.
or The Pit is a good one that's on right now, or maybe just rewatching The West Wing for the millionth time and wishing Washington were more like it.
Yeah.
I think that is such a nice concept
Yeah.
of like, oh wow, people with good intentions
Okay.
doing their best.
Okay, so competency porn here, as you're describing it, is basically watching people do things that they're really good at, like watching a doctor show or a lawyer show.
Yes, doing things they're good at, but also
Yeah.
with like a pure heart and pure
Okay.
intentions.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
like if it were a lawyer show and it's like someone
Scandal.
they're like scandal. That's maybe not always the best intentions, right?
Right.
But like watching The West Wing for or whatever is
They're
more
fighting for
they're
justice.
fighting for justice and like
Mhm.
democracy or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what we find comforting. So
Oh,
you
I
want
like
like a
that.
doctor to do their best and like save the guy at the end of it, like,
Yeah.
but you don't want them to be like actually a murderer or whatever. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Can't want like House, you
Right.
know?
No, I
Yeah,
don't think
okay.
House is a murderer.
Is it? What does he do? Doesn't he?
House? I think he's just a mean guy, isn't he?
Oh, I can't remember.
I
I
can't
literally
remember
don't know.
either.
Doctor with an
Doctor with an
attitude. Thank you. I thought
attitude.
he did something in
He
the
he's
medical
he's kind
field.
of a mean guy, yeah.
Yeah,
He like,
yeah.
and I guess he was very grumpy and he would break the rules sometimes.
Yeah. And you know what? That's great. I love competency shows, so that's
Me
fun.
too, honestly. Aspirational TV.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a lot of things that are comforting me nowadays, but mostly it's like reality TV. But I don't have to get into it. Okay, the next story I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah.
So, The Atlantic released a piece this week talking about how people crave being a part of a big friend group and assume that many people are in these groups of friends when in reality, many people are just not. So, the reason for this, there's several potential reasons. But first of all, people grow up believing that like having a tight friend group is normal and necessary. But in reality, we know it's not that easy, right? If you move to a new city, if you move to a new job, if you are in different parts of your life, like there's just so many reasons that people aren't as close as they once were. So media, school, social platforms all kind of reinforce this idea. It almost looks like people are always like have this like friends from college or whatever it is.
Yeah, friends, they wake up and have breakfast together before work. Like, who the hell is doing that?
Yeah, like friends. But I don't know. I thought this was really interesting because a lot of us, I think, have that pressure to be a part of something bigger like that. I've always felt like it would be so cool to be a part of that group. And sure, I had that in college, but now we all live in different places. So many of my friends have kids. We're in totally different parts of our lives and living in totally different places. So we don't have that tight knit friend group. Of course, we'll see each other once or twice a year, maybe at homecoming or someone's wedding. But yeah, I thought this was really interesting and kind of a nice reminder that like not everybody's a part of a big group and it's fine if you're not, you know?
Yeah. Did they have any data about what percentage of people do have a large friend group
They did
or
not have any data on it, but
just
they
the
were
vibes?
just
The source was
vibes.
trust me, bro.
Yeah, the source was trust me, bro. But I think this is very true. Like I am always kind of like envious of the people who look like they have like these long lasting relationships with people. And you know, like I said, I don't not have that. I just don't have that group that like I don't have a huge group chat that where like everybody's updates are in there. Like I don't have that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that does make me feel bad, but I think I should just not feel bad about it.
I think that that's so true.
I
And
mean, are you in a
honestly,
big group?
so I have a bunch of different friend groups
You
from
do.
different places that I've
Right.
lived, but like working in news, you move all over the US. And
Right.
so I have friends in like every city in America.
Mhm.
That's not a flex. That's actually worse than it sounds because you want to see your friends and they're not ever in the same place.
Yeah.
I have to say the only people I know who have a large group of friends that they hang out with regularly are people who are still in Chicago in my hometown.
Right.
And I'm so jealous of them.
Yeah,
To
me
be
too.
clear, I am very jealous. I wish I had a big group of girlfriends to hang out with, and they
Yeah.
have a book club that they've been doing for like 10 years.
Oh, that's sweet.
And like, obviously if I lived there, I would be a part of it, but I'm not. And so I do think that it's possible. I think though and I say this every time I move, I think part of life is what you make of it. And
Oh, yeah.
so a lot of community, you just have to be that person that makes that community for you. So in every
Mhm.
place I've ever moved, I've always been like balls to the wall, meeting friends, inviting people to do low effort hangs and that kind of
Mhm.
thing, because like that's the kind of community I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean every person I hang out with once becomes like a close personal friend of mine. Of course, that's not how it works. Like not everybody likes me and I don't like you know what I mean? Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's the kind of world I want to live in. And
Yeah.
so I always am trying to make friends and like have a good community. And I don't know, you can speak to this too. I think in LA, I do that a lot. I often host gatherings and I
Yeah,
often
yeah.
invite people out to do whatever. And it's just like, I think it's really nice to have a big group of friends, but I think it's more important to have individual friends that you
Keep in touch with.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, LA is like a totally different example because like this is such an in and out city. Like I have
Yeah.
so many I was so close with so many of my Laker girlfriends. Like, we were best friends, and like I thought I'd be best friends with them forever. And now no one lives in LA.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like the last one in LA. So I will see them occasionally in Orange County, or maybe they've moved back to Fresno, but like I just don't see them like I used to. And so yeah, it just changes. People are in and out.
Oh,
And
for sure. I had one year that 3 friends named Katie moved from LA to New York City. What are the odds?
what are the odds? The universe was like, you're not having
They were
any
like,
LA
"No,
Katies.
Katie has to live in New York."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm so excited to hear about this next new dating term.
Okay, so there is a new dating term, and I have to admit, I heard about it from a 22-year-old. So I think we're kind of on the pulse of what is going on in the world. Okay, listen to this new dating term. It is called not a situationship, which we are familiar with. It is called a humiliationship. Okay, Urban Dictionary, I had to go to the source, figure it out. Urban Dictionary said a humiliationship is a situationship with someone that feels like you're going through a humiliation ritual without the reward, right? So it's like you are like constantly being humiliated by this person. Like this person will not give you the time of day, will not date you. You continues to kind of humiliate you, whether in private or in social settings, and then you keep going back. It's like the
Yeah.
situationship that does not end, but you know that it is a very bad idea. And I'd like to just really quickly use it in a sentence. Quote, this situationship has me down so bad, it's humiliating. It's a humiliationship. That's
Wow.
from Urban Dictionary. Thank you. And we're citing our sources.
Citing our sources. 22-year-old and Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. I thought this was really interesting and also kind of sad. I'm like, if you're on a humiliationship, you got to cut that off. What are we
Yeah. Oh
doing?
my gosh. Well, and it's like, wait, so
Please.
there's no reward? Like the sex wasn't even good?
I don't think anything's good in a humiliationship. I think it's just
Yikes.
kind of a humiliating thing. But I think maybe the idea is people are staying in these relationships because they have nothing else going on. So they're like, this is humiliating to me, but you're all I got. Is the
Mm.
vibe I was getting from the 22-year-old. So
Where are you hanging out with 22-year-olds, Teague?
I just friends of friends, and I was like pretty enlightened. I actually learned something else that I put in this script, and here it comes. Do you want to hear about this?
I want to hear it.
This is also from a 22-year-old. So please take these things with a grain of salt or believe them, because I actually think this has the power to change our life.
Okay.
So I'm out and I'm about. And someone was talking about a mindfulness exercise that they do that I had never heard of. And you have to tell me if you've heard of this. She was talking all about talking to your water. Have you ever done this?
Like a glass of water?
Okay, so you're not enlightened yet, Sam, but you're gonna be. And hear me out. Okay, so it's really interesting. There's actually science to back this up. I guess like water is one of like the oldest, like water's been around since the dawn of time, right? So as a result, it holds a lot of energy. This is like the pitch from the 22-year-old, but also there is science on this. So it holds a lot of energy. So the practice that this girl was describing to me is that before she goes to bed at night, she has a glass of like water right next to her bed. Before she goes to bed, she has 3 minutes where she just like speaks like what she wants, like her intentions, what she wants out of life, like kind of like positive affirmations into the glass of water. She drinks half a glass of water, very important, goes to bed. Wakes up the next day, drinks the remaining half of the glass of water. And allegedly, this makes you feel more mindful. It kind of helps you align what you want in life. Honestly, it's very similar to like, I don't know, someone saying a prayer before bed or maybe doing a gratitude list. It feels very similar to that.
Yeah.
It is just incorporating water, which I thought was very interesting. And there is actually a practice and a principle behind this from some doctor who suggested that water actually forms different molecular structures based on the words or emotions that it is exposed to. So positive, loving words create this harmonious structure, whereas negative ones create chaos. Since your body is over about 70% water, speaking affirmations into the water you drink before bed is not just spiritual, it is vibrational. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah. The benefits, proponents claim that this practice helps align with your subconscious mind with peace. And because of the body is largely water, it helps program yourself for positive outcomes, health, better night's sleep. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. And I did it last night. And I got to say today, feeling pretty good.
All
Isn't
right.
that awesome?
That is very cool.
Thank you.
I do want to fact check a little because I'm
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah.
But they have not been able to replicate that doctor's work. I just Googled
Okay.
because I was curious if
Yeah.
that is like a well-known thing.
Yeah.
However, I do totally see the benefit in this
Totally.
because I think if you are naming your manifestations or
Oh,
naming your
yeah.
gratitude each day and like taking a moment to do that even with a glass of water without, but
Mhm.
and then drinking half of the water, which by the way, we all should drink more water.
True.
And so we drink some water, we have that moment, and then the next morning you're able to revisit it and sort of
Yeah.
set an intention for the day.
Yeah.
I think that alone would be helpful. And like
Yeah.
you know me, we live in LA. I probably overuse the word vibes and whatever
Right.
because that's like how we're always vibing.
Yeah.
But I do think that there's something to be said about that. And I do
No.
think water is like the source of all life basically. And
Mhm.
so I'm
Yeah.
so interested to see. I'm going to do this tonight.
Okay,
I'll
can't
report
wait. You
back.
have to report back. I'm so
Yes, I
excited. I
totally
think
will.
everybody should start doing it. Even it's just like a nice mindfulness thing. It's just like, I don't know, connecting with what you want is because sometimes I can go months without being like, what do I really want right now? But it's like a nice exercise to be like, this is what I want to focus on right now.
Yeah. I
And then
think
it
it's
like,
good to like set your mind to something too.
totally.
Cause you know, I want a million things. I want $1 million, you know, but
Same.
that's not that helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Next story.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of burping your house?
I have because I was online this week, but tell me about it.
Okay. Luften is a German home health idea that
Okay.
means opening your windows wide open for 5 to 10 minutes a day,
Okay.
even in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And experts say that it flushes out the stale air
Yeah.
and it lowers carbon dioxide and indoor pollutants
Mm-hmm.
and can help with humidity, unless it's super humid outside, I guess, and
Yeah.
can even improve your sleep and focus. So
I love it.
I do. I remember like back when I lived in Chicago, I'd open the window occasionally just because I'd be like, oh my God, I simply cannot sit in this stale air anymore. My mom would be like,
Mm-hmm.
you're letting all the bought air out. But
The what air?
the bought air, like the air that they heated with their
Oh,
money.
right. Funny. Bought.
Anyways, so it does say, by the way, you should skip it during super high pollen days or heavy traffic times, you know. So
Oh,
if you
right.
live on a busy road at rush hour, maybe don't do it right at 5 p.m. But
Yeah.
I do think that sounds kind of nice. And like
No, I love it.
I do that pretty often, just like unintentionally. I'm like, oh God, I can't handle this air anymore.
Yeah, no, I think this makes a huge difference. And I actually, after seeing this story this week, did start to open my doors a little bit more. So it makes such a difference. It's like, oh, fresh air in here.
Yeah. And
Huh?
honestly, I think even having the glass open, it lets more of the natural light, like the kelvins or whatever light is
Oh,
measured
yeah.
with. And I think it can help you feel a little bit better just as like a
Yeah.
human being. It's like basically going outside, but
Hmm.
coming through a screen door.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Amazing.
Okay, amazing. This last story is a
Yeah.
little bit ridiculous,
Okay.
but I simply must share.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Okay. Okay, it's time to admit that millennials have decided what our generations don't stop believing will be.
Okay. So our generation's song.
Yes, this is our banger.
Okay.
It is da-da-da-da, Mr. Brightside.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, there's
I
been
can
a
see
lot of
that.
internet discourse about this week,
Uh-huh.
but I guess like the sentiment is that it's just always a banger.
Mhm.
Everyone's ready to vibe to it.
Totally.
It plays at every wedding.
Yeah.
It will soon be banned from karaoke nights, much like it's Don't Stop Believing Elder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I remember that's like one of the first CDs we ever had.
Yeah.
I used to like jam to it with my brother.
Totally.
I don't know. What are your
It
thoughts?
feels very like, it feels kind of like a fun, it almost felt at the time edgy, you know? It felt edgy to sing Mr. Brightside. It felt like I had like a chip on my shoulder and like I didn't, you know? I was in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I-
We were like little kids.
I was like at the mall
Yeah.
and I was like, Mr. Brightside, you know, like I do agree. Like this is very like, it does have that resonant feeling in
Yeah.
my body. Like I get it. I do get it. And I
I totally get it.
agree with the selection.
I do too. I love it. I think it's fun. Maybe
Mhm.
not for everyone, but that's fine. Neither is Don't Stop Believing. Here for it.
Yeah, here for it. Oh my God, how funny.
Anyways, well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening this week. It was lovely to
Yay.
see your digital faces.
Yes. And like we said at the beginning of the episode, we know stuff is heavy. So, you know, if there's anything you want us to look into or talk about, or, you know, if we can be any support to anybody, we would love to do that. So thank you. And we will see you next week.
Bye.